mass grave containing the remains of babies and young children has been found at a former Catholic orphanage in Ireland. The finding supports a local historian's efforts to trace the fates of 800 children.
Some abandoned places hold more than just dust and decay. Hidden away from the world, there are sites so terrifying that even the bravest souls are scared. From haunted hospitals and ghost towns frozen in time, to cursed forests filled with ominous shadows, these abandoned sites are home to shocking truths that most can barely imagine. Journey with us as we uncover 16 terrifying things found in abandoned places. Number 16. Abandoned mother and baby home. Our first stop on this journey is the small town of Tuam in Ireland. Silent and abandoned, a grave holding untold sorrow lay undisturbed for decades, until 2014. In Tuam, Ireland, a group of amateur historians unearthed a haunting secret buried beneath what was once the site of a Catholic institution for housing unmarried mothers and their children. Built in the 1920s, this imposing institution operated from 1925 to 1961 under the guise of providing shelter to unmarried mothers and their babies. The reality proved far more sinister. Women faced daily humiliation, forced labor, and separation from their children. The facility's conditions were nothing short of appalling, with overcrowded rooms, inadequate medical care, and a pervasive atmosphere of shame and punishment. In 2014, local historian Catherine Corliss made a discovery that would shake Ireland to its core. Through detailed research of death certificates and burial records, she unveiled a horrifying truth. 796 children had died within the home's walls between 1925 and 1961. Their ages ranged from just 35 weeks to 3 years old. The story turns even darker when local children playing in the area stumble upon bone fragments. This finding sparked a full-scale investigation, confirming Corliss's research. A mass grave lay beneath what appeared to be a sewage tank, containing the remains of countless innocent lives discarded without dignity or proper burial rites. The discovery unleashed a wave of national horror and soul-searching across Ireland. Government investigations revealed similar practices at other mother and baby homes throughout the country. But Ireland isn't the only place with haunting remains hidden underground. Number 15. Human remains in the catacombs. 6 million souls are forever laid to rest under Paris, watching silently as visitors walk by. In the late 18th century, Paris faced an unprecedented crisis. The city's cemeteries, particularly Les Innocents, had become so overcrowded that decomposing bodies began breaking through the basement walls of neighboring properties. The putrid smell of decay filled the streets, and disease spread rapidly among locals. A network of ancient limestone quarries beneath the city would become the final resting place for millions of Parisians. Workers spent 12 years moving bones from cemeteries to these underground tunnels, creating what would become known as l'Empire de la Mort, the Empire of Death. Today, these tunnels stretch for miles, their walls meticulously lined with human skulls and femurs arranged in intricate patterns. The bones of 6 million people rest here, stacked floor to ceiling in haunting symmetry. This place was abandoned after the remains were stacked in there. But urban explorers visited the site again. Their reported findings include that the tunnel holds over 6 million bodies with some skulls and bones arranged decoratively. They also report that unexplained whispers were echoing through empty corridors, phantom footsteps following tour groups, strange orbs appearing in photographs, and they had this overwhelming feeling of being watched. The deeper sections of the catacombs remain strictly off-limits to the public. Urban explorers who ventured into these forbidden areas report finding mysterious ritual sites, abandoned film equipment, and even evidence of secret societies that gather in these bone-lined halls. One particularly haunting section displays a sign that reads, "Arrête, c'est ici l'Empire de la Mort," which translates, "Stop. This is the Empire of Death." These words mark the entrance to galleries where bones are stacked in elaborate patterns. As we emerge from Paris's shadowy depths, our journey takes us to a place where dolls outnumber the living. Number 14. The Island of Dolls. Hanging from the trees, They stare into the darkness with hollow, soulless eyes. The island's history began in the 1950s, when Don Julian Santana Barrera, the island's caretaker, discovered the body of a young girl who had drowned in the murky waters. Haunted by her death and claiming to hear her whispers in the night,
Ever been. We're in Xochimilco, outside of Mexico City, and this is the Isle of the Dolls.
Santana began collecting discarded dolls from the canals and garbage. He hung them from trees and buildings across the island, believing they would protect him from evil spirits and comfort the soul of the deceased child. What started as an act of memorial transformed into an obsession. For decades, Santana continued gathering dolls, creating an increasingly dreadful display. These silent guardians now hang by their necks, limbs, or whatever remains of their plastic bodies. Time and weather have transformed them into nightmare fuel. The true horror of the island intensified after Santana died in 2001. He drowned in the same spot where he had found the girl's body. This island, though abandoned for a long time, got urban explorers curious. In no distant time, a group decided to go visit the island. They discovered a disturbing sight as they reported seeing hundreds of dolls with severed heads and empty eye sockets staring at passers-by. Limbs of the dolls dangling precariously from tree branches, also their sun-bleached faces bearing dark stains and mysterious markings, and spider webs connecting the dolls like ethereal puppet strings. Some swear the dolls come alive at night, their heads turning to follow visitors, their arms reaching out in the darkness. Witnesses report hearing whispers, giggles, and footsteps when no one else is around. Professional paranormal investigators have captured unexplained electronic voice phenomena among the dolls. Some recordings feature a child's voice, calling out in the dead of night, while others contain unintelligible murmurs that seem to respond to visitors' questions. From dolls to skulls, our journey takes us to a chapel where the dead speak in silence. Number 13. The Chapel of Bones. Walking through this chapel is like stepping into a world where death is the interior decor. The dead watch silently from every corner in this haunting house of worship. Deep in the heart of Evora, Portugal stands the Capela dos Ossos, or Chapel of Bones. This macabre sanctuary doesn't just house the dead, it's built from them. In the 16th century, 3 Franciscan monks faced a unique architectural challenge. The local cemeteries were overflowing, threatening public health. The monks came up with a solution. They created a meditation space using the bones of the deceased. The monks exhumed roughly 5,000 skeletons from these cemeteries.
And all these are 5,000 people's bones.
Carefully arranging them into walls, columns, and vaulted ceilings. The chapel's entrance bears a chilling message that reads, Nos ossos que aqui estamos pelos vossos esperamos, which means we bones that are here await yours. This chapel has long been used for worship purposes and has attracted urban explorers and thrill seekers alike. The chilling account from the visitors reads straight out of a page from Stephen King's The Shining. Inside, human skulls stare down from every corner. Femurs and tibias create intricate patterns across the walls, while complete skeletons hang from chains. 2 desiccated corpses, one an adult, one a child, dangle from ropes, frozen in an eternal dance of death. Every inch serves this purpose, from the brown-stained walls decorated with skull motifs to the ceiling adorned with death-themed frescoes. Even the chapel's dimensions feel purposefully claustrophobic, forcing visitors to confront their mortality in close quarters. Visitors report feeling an inexplicable weight upon entering.
Something amazing to check out. So let's go a little bit more here. You see the little bones and the skulls on the top and everything.
As if the centuries of accumulated death press down upon them. The most unsettling feature is the skulls that seem to follow your movement. Their hollow eye sockets track visitors across the room, creating an unshakable sensation of being watched by thousands of empty gazes. Some guests report hearing whispers echoing through the bone-lined corridors, while others claim to feel cold spots that move throughout the chapel. Stepping out of the Chapel of Bones, we cross oceans to explore a place where silence tells its own story. Number 12. Hashima Island's Ghost Town. Crumbling buildings and empty streets remain as remnants of a once bustling island. Rising from the waves like a concrete fortress, Hashima Island stands as a haunting remains of Japan's industrial past.
Hashima Island, one of dozens of controversial sites Japan has pushed to gain UNESCO World Heritage recognition.
This speck in the East China Sea, spanning merely 16 acres, once housed a staggering 5,259 people, making it the most densely populated place on Earth during its peak. The island's transformation from a thriving community to an abandoned wasteland reads like a dystopian novel. From 1887 to 1974, Hashima's underground coal mines fueled Japan's rapid industrialization. Mitsubishi Corporation built a complete city on this rocky outcrop, creating a vertical concrete jungle of apartment blocks, schools, hospitals, and entertainment facilities. Once a bustling town, this island was abandoned in 1974 after the coal ran out. Thrill seekers and urban explorers stumbled upon this site and account that crumbling buildings and remnants of a past life make it look like an apocalyptic movie set. The haunting atmosphere that now permeates the island tells darker stories. Urban explorers have reported ghostly voices echoing through empty corridors, strange shadows moving in abandoned apartments, and unexplained footsteps in the old school building. The concrete structures now crumble under nature's relentless assault. Stairways lead to nowhere, collapsed floors create dangerous voids, and rusted metal protrudes from decaying walls. Each empty room holds fragments of past lives, weathered photographs, broken furniture, abandoned personal belongings, frozen in time since the day everyone left. The island's ghostly silence is broken only by the wind whistling through broken windows and the distant crash of waves. Former residents speak of hearing children's laughter in the dilapidated playground, where rusted swings still sway in the sea breeze. Some claim to see lights in the windows of buildings that haven't had electricity for decades. Departing from the silent ruins of Hashima, our next stop is a house whose contents sends shivers down spines. Number 11. The abandoned house of Urologist, Anna. Layers of dust and remnants of frozen time were only the start of what lay hidden in Dr. Schmidt's abandoned residence. A creepy discovery was made on a remote street on the outskirts of the city that shocked the local community. The house of urologist Dr. Anna Schmidt, which has been abandoned for decades and stood empty for over 30 to 50 years, was recently discovered by urban explorers and revealed a terrifying story. The explorers reported that they immediately felt a weird atmosphere upon entering the dilapidated building. Thick layers of dust covered the medical equipment and furniture, which seemed frozen in time. In the former treatment room, they found yellowed patient records and rusty surgical instruments. However, the most shocking discovery awaited them in the basement. In a hidden room, they discovered several locked medical containers. When they opened them, they made a gruesome discovery. The containers contained human kidneys, preserved in formaldehyde at various stages of pathological changes. The police were called in and began their investigations. According to initial examinations, Dr. Schmidt presumably kept the organs for research purposes before disappearing under mysterious circumstances.
Deze kamer waar we nu net gaat. Ziek coole kamer deze man.
The exact circumstances of her disappearance and the reason for leaving behind the specimens remain unclear to this day. Our journey through abandoned spaces continues as we head to a place once filled with laughter, but now steeped in unsettling silence. Number 10. Pripyat Amusement Park. The Pripyat Amusement Park sits as a ghostly reminder of dreams that never came to fruition, its rusted Ferris wheel reaching toward a sky that once reigned invisible death. This park never witnessed the joy it was meant to create. Set to open on May 1st, 1986, for the May Day celebrations, fate had other plans. The Chernobyl disaster struck on April 26th, merely days before children's laughter would have filled the air. The park's brief moment of use came during the evacuation of Pripyat, when authorities opened it for a few hours to distract residents from the unfolding catastrophe. Ever since then, it has been abandoned. Urban explorers who dare venture into this radioactive playground.
The thing is that there is an annual dose, which is considered normal for us as people not working with sources of ionizing radiation.
Report an overwhelming sense of despair. The scattered gas masks, abandoned toys, and deteriorating carnival games paint a picture of a community frozen in time. At night, some visitors claim to hear phantom carnival music carried on the wind, though scientists attribute these sounds to metal contracting in the cold. Today, the park's attractions stand as radiation-soaked sentinels. The yellow Ferris wheel, now an iconic symbol of the disaster, creaks in the wind. Bumper cars rust in eternal gridlock. Their bright colors fade to ghostly shadows. The swing boat ride sways silently, carrying only memories of what could have been. Radiation levels in certain areas of the park remain dangerously high. The most contaminated spot lies near the Ferris wheel, where the levels can reach up to 100 times the normal background radiation. Metal surfaces throughout the park became highly radioactive from the fallout, creating invisible danger zones that persist decades later. The park stands as nature slowly reclaims it, with trees growing through cracked concrete and vines wrapping around silent machinery. Stepping away from Pripyat's shadows, we approach a forest with an unnerving history of its own. Number 9. The Suicide Forest. Beneath Mount Fuji lies a forest where silence carries a chilling weight. Deep within Japan's Aokigahara Forest, ancient trees twist their twisted branches into an impenetrable canopy, creating an eternal twilight that seems to swallow both light and sound. This haunting woodland, lodged at the base of majestic Mount Fuji, harbors dark secrets that have earned it the chilling nickname, Jukai, which translates to the Sea of Trees. The forest's volcanic soil, rich in magnetic iron, disrupts compass readings and phone signals, leaving visitors vulnerable to disorientation.
And the police have turned up for one body, but there's actually 2 bodies. I found a woman, they found a man. So,
Dense vegetation muffles ambient noise, creating an unsettling silence that amplifies the slightest rustle or snap of a twig. This natural phenomenon has given birth to countless tales of supernatural encounters and inexplicable sounds echoing through the hazy undergrowth. Abandoned for decades, local folklore speaks of yurei, souls trapped between worlds, who roam the twisted paths, their presence felt in sudden cold spots and whispered voices carried on non-existent winds. The forest's sinister reputation has attracted paranormal investigators and thrill seekers alike. Many describe an oppressive atmosphere that seems to press against their chest, while others report watches stopping at specific times and batteries draining without explanation. A local guide once shared his experience of hearing children's laughter deep within the forest, only to find no footprints in the soft soil when he investigated. Hikers report strange sensations of being watched, followed by invisible presences that seem to guide or mislead them deeper into the forest's embrace. One particularly haunting account comes from a documentary filmmaker who captured unexplained orbs of light dancing between trees during nightfall. His equipment mysteriously malfunctioned, leaving only fragments of footage that showed shadowy figures moving against the natural flow of wind. Departing from the whispers of Aokigahara, we uncover the mystery of a house that left investigators baffled. Number 8. The Abandoned House in Atlanta. A weird mystery lingered in this Atlanta home, where blood-like stains appeared on walls. This house became the center of one of Georgia's most puzzling ghost stories in 1987. In the suburbs of Atlanta, there is a house that looks ordinary from the outside, but hides a terrifying secret. The nightmare began when the owners of the house reported something strange happening, dark red liquid seeping through the walls and floors. At first, people thought it was just vandalism or a prank, but after thorough investigations, it turned out to be something much worse. Tests revealed that the substance was human blood, but no one could figure out where it was coming from. Local police launched a detailed investigation. Several forensic teams examined the property with ground-penetrating radar. Plumbing systems were thoroughly inspected, and historical records were carefully looked into. Unfortunately, each investigation led to dead ends. The blood seemed to appear out of nowhere, defying any logical explanation or scientific understanding. For weeks, the strange phenomenon continued with blood oozing from different parts of the house. Witnesses described seeing crimson liquid bubbling up through floorboards and trickling down pristine white walls, leaving dark stains that wouldn't go away. Thereafter, the house was deserted by the owners. It wasn't until a few years later that paranormal investigators and urban explorers stumbled upon this house again.
For another episode, today, as you can see, we are at a very cool abandoned mansion. This place was built in the 1970s.
Many reported feeling intense fear, experiencing sudden drops in temperature, and having their electronic devices malfunction. Some claimed to have captured recordings of whispers and screams using EVP, electronic voice phenomena technology. Today, the house stands abandoned with boarded-up windows and an overgrown yard. Residents hurry past it, avoiding eye contact with the place that holds Atlanta's bloodiest mystery. Urban explorers who dare to go near report feeling an overwhelming sense of sadness surrounding the property, as if the house itself remembers its gruesome history. From this chilling sight, we find ourselves face to face with a preserved predator in Australia. Number 7. Abandoned Aquarium, Australia. Behind glass walls, a mummified predator waits in a dreadful stillness. The abandoned wildlife wonderland park harbors a secret that sent shivers through the urban exploration community in 2018. A massive great white shark suspended in a green-tinged formaldehyde tank. This ghostly specimen, nicknamed Rosie, measures an impressive 16.5 feet in length. The shark's lifeless form floats in an eerie state of suspended animation, its jaws forever frozen in a menacing pose. The deteriorating tank, cracked and leaking, adds an extra layer of creepiness to this morbid display. The shark's discovery sparked international attention when urban explorers ventured into the derelict park. Their footage revealed a massive predator preserved in time, surrounded by broken glass, graffiti-covered walls, and the decaying remnants of what was once a bustling wildlife park. The story behind this preserved apex predator is equally fascinating. The shark was caught in 1998 in South Australia's tuna fishing nets and was initially preserved for display in a seafood shop. When the shop closed, Wildlife Wonderland acquired it as an educational exhibit. After the park's closure in 2012, the shark remained forgotten until its rediscovery. Urban explorers who've visited the site describe an overwhelming sense of unease. It's like stepping into another dimension. The shark appears to watch you through the murky liquid, its dead eyes following your every move. The absolute silence of the abandoned building makes the experience even more terrifying. The shark's preservation has created an accidental time capsule, a bizarre intersection of nature and abandonment that draws curious visitors despite the site's deteriorating condition.
Get it, it's a shark, and I looked into it and found out I'd actually been to this place when it was open back in...
Local authorities have attempted to secure the location, but the allure of this unusual specimen continues to attract brave souls willing to face the shark's perpetual, silent stare. Number 6. Centralia Ghost Town. Abandoned in the 1980s, the central Pennsylvania fire never seems to go off. Deep beneath the streets of Centralia, Pennsylvania, a hellish inferno has been raging for over 60 years. This underground coal fire, ignited in 1962, transformed a once thriving mining town into an apocalyptic wasteland. The story began when a controlled burn of a landfill ignited an exposed coal vein, spawning an unstoppable underground blaze. As the fire spread through the abandoned mine tunnels, the ground became unstable, releasing toxic gases and opening sinkholes that could swallow houses whole. Cracked asphalt bleeds steam through fissures, while wisps of smoke rise from seemingly random spots in the earth. The infamous Graffiti Highway, a stretch of abandoned Route 61, bears witness to the devastation. Its warped surface decorated with spray-painted warnings and artistic tributes to the town's fiery fate. The ground is warm enough to melt snow in winter, and temperatures below the surface can reach a scorching 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Thrill-seekers who dare to visit Centralia encounter abandoned homes with personal belongings frozen in time, steam vents that release toxic gases into the air, and buckled roads with gaping cracks that reveal the inferno below. The fire shows no signs of stopping. Scientists estimate it could burn for another 250 years, feeding on the rich coal deposits that once brought prosperity to this Pennsylvania town. The population has dwindled from over 1,500 residents.
Main road, and I see another house. I think I'm on the main road. I don't know where I am. Is this the main road? Where the hell am I?
To fewer than 5 people who stubbornly refuse to leave their homes. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. Urban explorers ventured into an old, forgotten house, expecting dusty furniture and broken walls. But in one of the rooms, they were met with a truly unsettling sight. A body lying on the bed, with its face remarkably intact. The figure was eerily well preserved, raising questions about how long it had been there, or if some form of preservation was involved. The room was quiet, frozen in time, as if it held onto a dark secret. What do you think could have happened to this person? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Number 5. Abandoned toys. In rural Russia, there is a deserted village that serves as a haunting reminder of forgotten childhoods. This place, where time seems to have stopped, is filled with discarded toys that tell stories of lives abruptly changed. Urban explorers who have entered this eerie settlement describe numerous worn-out toys scattered across crumbling wooden buildings. Found among the ruins were tattered teddy bears, perched by dusty windows, their fur weathered and dull from years of neglect. Porcelain dolls with broken expressions lurking in shadowy corners, their painted smiles now twisted by the passage of time, and baby dolls tucked into makeshift beds, their plastic bodies stained by decades of abandonment. The exact history of this village remains unknown. Local legends suggest that its inhabitants left in a hurry, but the reasons behind their departure vary depending on who tells the story. Some speak of an industrial accident, while others point to economic collapse. Regardless of the truth, it lies buried beneath layers of decay and forsakenness. Photographers who have captured images of this site often describe feeling an overwhelming sense of sadness. The contrast between innocent childhood relics and the backdrop of deterioration creates an atmosphere that is both heartbreaking and frightening. Number 4. Waverly Hills Sanatorium. Rows of caskets tell stories of despair and death in one of America's most haunted sanatoriums. In the heart of Louisville, Kentucky, stands the Waverly Hills Sanatorium. Built in 1910, this massive Gothic structure served as a tuberculosis hospital during the devastating White Plague epidemic that swept through America. The most chilling feature of this abandoned medical facility isn't found in its decaying halls or empty patient rooms. It's hidden beneath the building in what former staff called the body chute. This 500-foot-long tunnel served the purpose of transporting deceased patients away from the facility without other patients witnessing the daily death toll. The tunnel's design was methodical. A motorized rail and cable system moved the bodies downhill, while staff used the parallel set of stairs to travel between floors. The reasoning behind this elaborate system was practical and psychological. Hospital administrators believed seeing multiple corpses carried out daily would crush the remaining patients' spirits and diminish their will to live. Today, several original wooden caskets remain scattered throughout the tunnel system. Urban explorers have documented these haunting remnants, capturing images of the caskets' deteriorating wood and rusted metal fixtures. The death toll at Waverly Hills was staggering. At the epidemic's peak, one patient died every hour, and an estimated 8,000 deaths occurred within its walls. The body chute saw constant use, with some reports suggesting 40 to 50 bodies were transported daily. Paranormal investigators frequently report unexplained phenomena in the tunnel system, from mysterious footsteps echoing through the passage to shadowy figures darting between the remaining caskets. Number 3. Hingley Hospital for the Insane, England. Hidden among the rolling hills of East Sussex is a reminder of Britain's troubled history with mental health care. Hingley Hospital, once a vast facility for treating mental illness, now stands as a crumbling monument to centuries of misunderstanding and questionable medical practices. Built in 1903, this Victorian asylum covered an area of 400 acres. Its grand architecture was designed to accommodate society's most vulnerable individuals. At its peak, the hospital housed over 1,200 patients, each confined within its imposing walls under the pretense of treatment. The abandoned wards hold stories of unimaginable pain and suffering. Rusted bed frames still bear the marks where patients were restrained, silent witnesses to controversial therapies such as electroshock treatment and ice baths. Medical records scattered across dusty floors reveal disturbing accounts of experimental procedures performed on those deemed hopeless. Within the decaying walls, visitors have reported spine-chilling experiences like unexplained whispers echoing through empty hallways, darkened figures darting between doorways, and distant screams emanating from padded cells. The hospital's most infamous section, Ward 10, housed its most severe cases. Its reinforced doors and barred windows serve as reminders of a time when mental illness was met with isolation rather than compassion. After its closure in 1994, nature began to reclaim the grounds. Ivy creeps through shattered windows, and moss blankets the floors where nurses once made their rounds. Yet the oppressive atmosphere within the building remains unchanged. Preserved in its deteriorating corridors, urban adventurers who were there often described an overwhelming feeling of being watched. The old hydrotherapy room, with its corroded pipes and decaying tiles, still carries the musty odor of dampness and decay. In what used to be the children's ward, forgotten toys lie scattered about. Also amongst the discovery were patient belongings, such as worn shoes and faded photographs. Number 2. Eastern State Penitentiary. Tucked away behind the lively streets of Philadelphia is a Gothic fortress that tells stories of loneliness, insanity, and ghostly encounters. Eastern State Penitentiary serves as a chilling reminder of America's early efforts to reform prisons, with its crumbling walls hiding secrets darker than anyone could fathom. Constructed in 1829, this imposing structure brought about a significant change in the American prison system through its radical method of rehabilitation, which is complete and total solitary confinement. Inmates lived in absolute seclusion, their only companion being the haunting silence of their thoughts. Each cell was designed as a small monastery, forcing prisoners into a constant state of introspection and remorse. The prison's most infamous inhabitant, Al Capone, experienced this psychological torment firsthand. Yet even the notorious gangster reportedly battled with the ghostly voices that haunted his nights. Chilling experiences reported by visitors have it that disembodied footsteps echo through vacant cell blocks, and whispered conversations are heard from empty rooms. Cell Block 12 has gained particular notoriety among paranormal investigators. Both guards and tourists describe an overwhelming feeling of being watched, accompanied by mysterious scratching sounds coming from within the walls. The prison's hospital wing holds its horrors with tales of phantom coughs and moans disrupting the silence, while medical equipment inexplicably shifts on its own. The massive stone walls of the penitentiary seem to absorb and replay moments of human anguish. In the death row area, visitors report hearing desperate cries and muffled sobs, despite no living person occupying these spaces. The seclusion that once drove men to madness appears to have confined their spirits within these weathered walls. Time has turned Eastern State into a deteriorating monument to human misery, its Gothic architecture intensifying the feeling of despair that permeates every nook and cranny. Number 1. Ghost City in the Sky. High above the clouds in Maggie Valley, North Carolina, stands a haunting testament to forgotten dreams, an abandoned theme park that takes the crown as our last on the list of most terrifying abandoned places. Ghost Town in the Sky, straddled precariously at 4,600 feet elevation, held the promise of Wild West entertainment and thrilling attractions.
And many of those who got a chance to visit have fond, nostalgic memories.
Now, its decaying structures whisper tales of a darker reality. Opened in 1961,
a mountain amusement park that planned to open this month is now staying closed.
All the shows, ride all the rides for one admission price.
This mountaintop marvel required visitors to brave a steep incline via chairlift or cable car to reach its themed attractions. The park's remote location proved both its unique selling point and ultimate downfall. It was shut down in 2002 after visitors became trapped on the chairlift. Urban explorers who dare venture into this cloud-shrouded ghost town report that what is left of this bubbling site are rusted carnival rides swaying in mountain winds, empty saloon doors creaking on their hinges, life-sized mannequins, frozen in time, their paint peeling to reveal hideous expressions, and abandoned cowboy props are scattered throughout, creating weird silhouettes at dusk. The park's most unsettling feature lies in its Red Devil cliffhanger roller coaster, a twisted metal skeleton clinging to the mountainside. Local legends tell of mysterious sounds echoing through the fog like ghost gunfights, ghostly music, and the distant screams of long-gone thrill-seekers. The juxtaposition of cheerful theme park elements against the backdrop of decay creates an atmosphere that urban explorers describe as deeply unsettling. Our journey ends, but the haunting presence of these abandoned places will continue to echo in the dark corners of history. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.